Hey, Nerd Herd, Dynasty Nerds back again, picking up right where we left off last week. We drafted 15 players from the 21 to 23 class overall. We're picking up at player 16. Still a lot of Dynasty cornerstones here and a lot of value to be had.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? Somebody will probably make a questionable pick in there somewhere.
And a favorite Williams will be selected.
And somebody's make a pretty good pick as well.
Ready, set, hut, hut. Welcome to the Dynasty Nerds Fantasy Football Podcast, where we discuss Dynasty strategy, rankings, and all things NFL. So get ready to geek out on fantasy football with your host, Rich Dotson.
And welcome to the Dynasty Nerds Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm your host.
Your nose?
Your nose.
My nose is here
got
too.
your nose.
I can smell you guys coming.
I got your nose. No.
I'm Rich Dotson. He's Matt O'Hara.
Hey.
He's Garrett Price.
How's it going?
Yeah, it's going pretty good. Got so nosy. That's all of a business. We're back talking, kind of picking up where we left off last week. We were redrafting this 21 to 23 class, like this core of young guys. We were supposed to pick up on the Nerd Herd show. There was no Nerd Herd show. I ended up having to stop after last episode, had a family emergency. So we decided, hey, why not pick back up and then do two more shows because there's enough players and go through the next 30 players essentially. So this show and the Nerd Herd show, we're going to keep going. Should we recap?
We should.
Players taken last?
We should, just in case.
Definitely.
Anybody have those in front of you?
I do. I have them right here. All right. So Matt started us off with Trevor Lawrence. Yeah. Remember, this is super flex.
Tight end premium.
Justin Fields was next off the board. Jamar Chase, I took him at 1-3. Then Bijan Robinson. Rich took Jalen Waddle at 1-5. Garrett Wilson at 1-6. 1-7 was Kyle Pitts. Anthony Richardson at 1-8. Breece Hall at 1-9. Devontae Smith at 1-10. Amon-Ra St. Brown at 111, Jahmyr Gibbs at 112. And then we went 3 extra picks because time allowed.
And this isn't rounds. This is just order. Garrett's like, how many rounds we're going to do? I'm like, how about we just go in order? Like it's like a ranking set.
Basically, yeah. So the next 3 picks then were CJ Stroud, Chris Olave, and Bryce Young.
We also thought that we were going to come right back and continue going.
We did think that.
Almost seamlessly, so we just, whatever.
We'll just stop in the middle round. Who cares?
Yeah,
But dude, this is life though. You blink and it's a week later. It's like, oh, dude, I wish I had more Dynasty Nerd show. It's like, just blink. We'll be back. That's how I feel it is. Like, I feel like I'm in this chair nonstop.
To make up for it, though, it is out a day early this week.
It is out for a day early. I got to go out of town. I'm going to Michigan tomorrow. I'm going to see Dave Matthews, my wife. So... yes, I listen to Dave Matthews. Remember, I met my wife at a Dave Matthews concert in 2005.
There you go.
So
how romantic.
Yeah, it's kind of our thing. So we go see Dave like every year. It's kind of like our little romantic thing. Yes, we're going to French kiss for all you perverts out there. Yes, we're in love still. We've been 2005. What is that? 18 years?
That's a lot. Yeah.
Wow.
I don't even want to count.
That's a full-blown adult, our relationship. Go out there and vote. Good for our relationship.
Look at you guys.
Look at us still going weak.
Still going weak. Oh no.
So we're recording a day early. But yeah, dude, just another podcast. We're gonna keep going. We were talking about that before the show. It's like we were talking about like fancy Twitter and how there's a lot more like scuffles going on in fancy Twitter. I feel like these days, and it's like, dude, just get your opinion out there. You don't have to be, we all find out who's right and wrong. Event. The greatest thing about podcasts and opinions is we always find out who's right.
Yep.
So
every year.
Anybody who ever argues with me, I'm like, all right, dude, agree to disagree. We'll find out who's right. I mean, of course, I'm right way more than I'm wrong. But
well,
I mean,
of course.
Come talk to us in September.
That's why I'm Dynasty Rich. That's why I'm that's
the richest man around.
I mean, in name. So it's just like, dude, that's what Twitter for me these days. Like when you follow me, I used to be very active on Twitter. Yeah. Like I still love Twitter. I'm on there every single day of my life. I'm actually addicted to it. It's like one of the few things I'm addicted to in life. I really am. I'm not afraid to admit it. But like, I'm like, dude, all my stuff, let's just come to Dynasty Nerds podcast. I got the info there. Yep. Go check out our YouTube channel. Check out don't check out our Discord. Garrett's on there.
Yeah.
I get on there when I can. We gotta do it. We gotta do a Q&A on there. So
we should
for the Nerd Herds. So
you've got Q's, we've got A's.
Hey, let me get the light.
Dude, don't forget the light.
Blinded by the light.
I was like, for the YouTube channel, I was like, if you see the sign behind me, the Nerd Herd, and you want to join it and get access to all our cool stuff, there's an easy way to go about doing it. And you're like, hey, the Nerd Herd. I heard you guys talking about all the time. We got cool apps. Go to the Nerd Herd. Shout out to everybody who gave us a rating
Mott
review
sticks?
on the Scott Fishbowl.
Apps.
I
Wings,
don't have it in my phone in front of me
skins.
about the winner of our Scott Fishbowl entry, but gave that away.
Did you?
Yeah, so that's pretty exciting. Congrats! I think it's
I was hoping you remembered to do that because I knew that you had that Sunday deadline.
I did. I got it in this morning. I messaged Scott. I was like, "Hey, Scott, I hope this is too late."
I'm on a different time. zone.
The first person I messaged him last night, and I was like, they didn't message me back. Like I messaged him probably like 5 o'clock at night, somewhere around there in the afternoon, and they didn't message me back. I wrote him back like late before I went to bed. I was like, dude, this is kind of like a time sensitive thing, not to like rush you. Like I need your information.
I need to know like today.
And I woke up and he wasn't there. And I was like, what do I do? Do I wait? Or do I go on the next guy? And I was like, dude, I don't want to like miss this opportunity to get something to Scott Fishbowl. So I just wanted the next person. And luckily got him in, Scott. I always count Scott being super sweet.
Yeah. I mean, I think you can always rely on that.
And if you didn't get in, check out the Scott Fishbowl. Like the biggest thing I always say about Scott Fishbowl is like people complain, like, oh, I want to be in there. All you got to do is sign up. Like sign up.
And you got a chance.
You have a chance. And the big thing is like, just look for all these like contests, these fantasy cares contests. Like that's what the big thing you have to remember with the Scott Fishbowl is like, this is a give back thing. It's the reason I buy shirts every year. This year I bought 2 shirts, like Scott Fishbowl shirts, because all that money goes to.
I got my Taco Bell one.
Did you?
Yep.
I got a Mike and Ike's, of course.
Yes.
And I had to get a Texas Roadhouse one, but there's like a million more.
The rolls are fantastic.
Literally a million more.
I'm trying to figure out which ones I want. I still haven't ordered one.
Have you picked a division?
Yeah, I'm in the Miller Lite one.
Okay, then get a Miller Lite.
I want to get a Miller Lite one, but I like the Patron one. I like a couple other ones as well, and you know what I mean. So,
dude, we should order more.
Yeah, I definitely want to get a high noon one. Like the high noon one's pretty cool too. I mean, I know like all mine happen to be alcohol ones that I like, but
Matt,
I wore
we're
one of the
noticing a
baseball games,
trend.
Like, is that Texas Roadhouse shirt you're wearing? I'm like, nah, it's a fancy football contest. But the big thing is just like that's what it's for. It's for like giving back. Like Scott, John Bosch, Bob Gilchrist, like all these guys put a lot of time in this. Ryan McDowell. And all this money goes to like Toys for Tots. Like they buy so many tens of $1,000s for kids on Christmas. Like it's such a good thing. Like obviously we all know the name and everybody wants to win it. But it really is for a good cause. So if you want to get in, donate to fantasycares.com. Get in there, join some of those things. Right now on Sleeper, they have a contest. It's $5. And the top 250 finalists get an entry into Scott Fishbowl next year on Sleeper.
Huge.
Not Sleeper. Is it Underdog?
It's on Underdog.
It's on Underdog.
Yeah, and it's for 2024. So next year's, they would get an entry into next year's.
And it's a fun contest because like every analyst you could possibly think of is in this.
Yes.
Like every possible analyst you can think of is in this contest to compete. And it's like it grows every year. Last year it was like 1,500. To be over 2,000 this year. 2 years ago I came in the top 10 because I'm pretty good at what I do.
Look at this guy.
So get out there, check that out. I encourage everybody to donate. You won't get in this year, but that's fine. I mean, and the big thing is if you keep trying, Scott goes out of his way to make sure that if you try to get in for 3 years, he'll get you in. Like he's that good of a manager of this format. But the more you give and the more you help out, the better chance you have to give in there. And we mentioned it's on Underdog this year for all this contest. If you go on there and you put in the $5, like not only you have that Scott Fishbowl contest you can enter, but they also have the Best Ball Mania where you can win $3 million. And Underdog is such a fun place, and I love seeing it grow, like with the Scott Fishbowl community, with all these other people advertising it.
Right.
Our advertising partner, we have a really good relationship with Underdog. If you don't have Underdog, you got to get out there and download the app now, just for a chance to get the Scott Fishbowl. Right. It's only a $5 contest. You get enter in multiple contests as well. And right now, if you use the promo code NERDS, they're going to match your deposit up to $100. So like, hey, I want to join a couple of these Scott Fishbowl entries. The top 250 get in. I listen to the Nerds, so I know I'm probably going to come top 50 because I'm a pretty good fantasy player because of all this sweet super podcasting they do here. Like, because if you don't, like, you might as well be having sex with the king because you're royally effed. And what you need to do is get in there
where that was going
and use the promo code NERDS. And what you do is you put in $10, and then what we're gonna do is we're gonna send you a promo code for a free year of the Nerd Herd.
A whole year.
And that's all you need, baby, is 1 year to get acclimated into our system. That's it. What we're gonna give you, we're gonna get the extra podcast, which is like money in the bank. It's entertaining. It's information. Rookie season. It's invaluable. You get all the rookies. You get access to our film room, which is the largest film room you're going to find out there with all 22 film on these rookies. You get the Nerd Score. And you get the Dynasty Nerds app. You drive on there. We have all these tools on there for you that's going to literally keep growing. Like, I promise you, from the day one it was like last year where it is today, it just keeps growing and getting better and better and
Yes,
better.
sir.
That's our roadmap. And all you got to do is go to Underdog, download that app, put in the promo code. If you're already a member, we're going to send you a shirt as well.
If you're not, you get that rookie year free, right?
Yeah, get that rookie year. You're free. Join the Scott Fishbowl entries. You're giving back to like kids, like you really are. So do that. Get in the Best Ball Mania, win $3 million. Get into the smaller contest with win $1 million. So many different ways to play. Play with your friends. Underdog Fantasy. Download the app today. You must be 18 plus, 19 plus in Alabama, Nebraska, 21 plus in Massachusetts and Arizona, and president of the state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concerned when you play. 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. In Arizona, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP. In New York, call 1-877-8-HOPE. New York. In Tennessee, call 1-800-889-9789. So we're off with the 16th pick here.
16th
Talk about
pick.
some of these guys that we want to draft. Matt, you are back on the clock here.
I am.
Such a ton of talent here, which we're still looking at. I mean, I still look at a lot of these guys as core players
Yep.
that are still available, which remember, if you're a core player, you're 25 or under, and you have top 15 consistent upside? Would be a
Yeah,
core
I would
player?
say so.
Okay. So, Matt, where are you putting all your chips?
So here's where my head's at, right? I mean, we're in a super flex tight end premium and one tight end's off the board, right? So far. Most of the good quarterbacks I feel like are kind of have gone.
Yep.
There's some other guys that I feel like are somewhat risky or questionable as far as their upside type of guys left. But then there's some fantastic wide receivers left. And that's kind of where I'm at. There's Jackson Smith and Jigba, there's Drake London,
Christian Watson, Jordan Addison.
Traylon Burks,
Jameson Williams is there, who I absolutely loved last year.
George Pickens.
We didn't get to see him as much as I'd like, but yeah. So those are some of the guys that are kind of remaining on the board, and kind of that's where my thought process is going. Is kind of towards one of those guys right now, just because I don't love the other guys right now. So for me, I am going to go all upside and go Jameson Williams because he's my homie from last year.
Wow.
And I still heart him. And I know it's a bit of a surprise. I know there's some guys that you probably would have taken ahead of him. Everyone here.
There are a few.
And that's okay.
There's a handful.
But Jameson Williams is my guy, and I'm sticking with him.
That's so just for the thought process, because I don't hate it. He was somebody that was one of your top 3 rookie wide receivers last year.
Yep.
It's a decent situation there where he could, emerge. But what made you like him more than specifically Jackson Smith and Jigba in London? Like those are the two that I'm really surprised to see him go ahead of.
So Jackson Smith and Jigba, just obviously we don't know exactly how long it's going to take for him to get going there, right? I mean, he's got a very ultra good wide receiver on the other side, as does Jameson Williams.
I can tell you how long it's going to take, about 19 months.
All right.
At the most. 12 months.
But Drake London, I just don't like as much as I like Jameson Williams, and he is admittedly in a better situation. I just, as a prospect, I like Jameson Williams more, and I just see higher upside with a guy like Jameson Williams than I do with really either one of those two guys. So it's the upside that I'm shooting for with the Williams. The other two guys, I love Jackson Smith and Jigba. He's just a notch below from a talent standpoint for me anyway.
And you're getting him over now a full. He's almost going to be 2 years. By the time he comes back, he's pretty much 2 years removed from his ACL, which is what you want to see. Because the first year after ACL is always a down year for pretty much 98% of all fantasy players. Like when you come back, then you're not going to be as explosive. You're not going to be as efficient unless you get outliers. Like there's a good chance Breece Hall will be an outlier this year. Kind of like Adrian Peterson was. And Jameson Williams, I mean, he has gifts that you can't teach, like speed, solid route runner, good hands, and an offense that's really on the up too. So again, I don't hate the pick either. There's definitely a couple players I would have taken ahead of him, but not too many players. When I say a handful, it's probably literally a handful, but
So like 5.
So like 5.
not a handful.
I mean, how many players can you fit in a hand?
Well, it depends. Like, are we talking M&Ms?
Are we talking about rings on your fingers?
Yeah, we're talking about rings on our finger, and like how many rings? Super Bowl rings, you're not getting many. But like, look at my wedding ring. Like,
you could jam a lot.
You
of
could
them.
get a lot of those.
I mean, I
On
get like 5 rings on one finger.
So somewhere between like 2 players and 37 players.
I think that's right about the range.
Okay.
that we're
Yeah,
at.
I think that's correct.
I think it's pretty accurate.
All right.
Yeah.
I just wanted to clear things up for
Like
people.
I honestly, I would probably take Traylon Burks ahead of Jameson Williams.
I'm close.
And just like fantasy Twitter, time will tell.
Time after time.
Time will tell.
We'll tell. You are the wide receiver guru, so
That's true.
Time will tell.
Time after time.
But anyway, Rich, you're up next, man.
no, I'm not.
Yeah,
Am
you
I
are.
up?
Why do you still
you
not?
did this
Why do you
last week
still
too.
not know the order?
Listen, I have a mental
It says it
deficiency.
right.
If you haven't learned this long, I mean, you've been my best friend for 25 years. This podcast has to go for 9 years. If people don't know that my brain just not work properly, then, well,
I know. That's why I was reminding you that it's your turn.
I know. Thank you so much. I don't know where I'd be without you. Nice to meet the rest of you guys. I literally have I'm mentally challenged, but that's just me. So I'm taking Drake London here, and there's tons of good players here, and I know you could be sitting in your car going, "What? You took him over Jackson Smith, or you took him over Ramondre, or Christian Najee Harris, or Travis Etienne."
They already did that when I picked, man. That's fine.
Well, for sure they did with you picked. Like, dude, this guy's a moron. It's my first time listening to the show. Who's this Matt guy? Dumbest guy on the show, probably.
Probably.
He's the wide receiver guru.
Watch the YouTube. He's also the best looking, so
find
it
out.
makes up for it.
Yeah.
Can't be everything.
Here, let me shuffle the leg now.
All you gotta do is look up Matt's wide receiver history when everybody else tells him he's stupid. When he has guys like Justin Jefferson, as his wide, like I'd rather have him than Jamar Chase. And people are like, "You're a moron," and he's like, "Well, here I am." AJ Brown he had higher than everybody else. This guy knows what he's talking about, so I'm going to benefit now. But I'm taking Drake London. Drake London, somebody who came on his rookie year and started off his first game absolutely fantastic. Wow, this guy's going to be a monster. Sons of targets, huge games. Kind of took a step back there in the first couple weeks of the game, but the second half of the season, he increased every aspect of his game. You know, from his receptions went up 1, his target share went up 1%, his yards per game went up over 10 yards per game. The second half of the year, his yards per route went up per year. His points per game went up 2 points, almost 2 points per game the second half of the year. So he did get better the second half, and that's when Desmond Ridder came into the game. And with Drake London, he's an X receiver. Like, he's that alpha receiver.
Definitely.
On a team that's going to be consistently struggling to start off. So he's going to get a ton of target share. He will be the number 1 target on this offense. It will not be Kyle Pitts. It will be Drake London.
What?
Doesn't mean Kyle Pitts isn't going to get a target share too, but the true deep threat, the true weapon in this offense will be Drake London. And with this team,
I don't even know that you believe that what you just said.
oh, I 100% believe it. I think
know.
Kyle Pitts is going to get a ton of target shares too, but for a tight end, you know what I mean? Like he'll be involved, but we're always looking for that alpha X receiver.
You're looking at 130 targets versus 115 targets.
Pretty much.
Kyle
Yeah,
Pitts. All right.
That's 15 fantasy points plus the yards. I'll take it.
All right.
So
Assuming those are all catches.
So and in a lot of startups, I've been grabbing a lot of Drake London shares. I've been trying to grab him because you want that guy. Definitely a guy who's only like 21 years old. So you get the youth, you get the upside, you get the dominance where he played at USC. You've seen him do it at the NFL level already at 21 years old.
Right.
So we don't know if Desmond Ridder is going to be the guy, but in this offense right now, even for 2023, we don't need Desmond Ridder to be the guy. We don't even need him to be. We just need him to be just to do enough and get us in a position where kind of where Drake London fell off last year, where he fell in the second half of the year, where he's averaging about 12 points per game. Like, I'm okay with that. If we can get a slight uptick in his game where this all progresses just a little bit, which you would expect in the second year offense of Desmond Ridder, with Bijan opening everything up in that passing game as well. If I get a slight uptick to where that's right around 13 points per game, you're talking about a bona fide high-end wide receiver too in his second year under the age of 23 years old. So for me, that's where it is, where there's not many opportunities to get that true big X receiver. And here I am getting him at pick like number 18 overall here in not even just over the last 3 years of players. So I'm very excited about it.
No, that's a good selection. He's definitely one of the 2 or 3 players that I was looking at with this next pick. So and Drake London showed a lot last year. He showed that he can be that type of player. Yes, there were some weeks where the stats were a little bit lower, but that team just ran the crap out of the football. I do think they're going to open it up a little bit this year. Desmond Ridder in a second year now. So I like that pick.
I'm a little bit worried about the offense there, and that's kind of another reason why I went the other way. With my pick, I don't know how much they're going to actually want to throw the ball. I'm not sure if they're just going to be like this run-heavy team that really just is trying to bring along a quarterback very, very slowly. Mm-hmm. And, that might end up in the long run working out great, right? Because we've seen it happen. That is a great way to develop a quarterback. But if it doesn't work out, and now all of a sudden we've wasted 2 years looking at Desmond Ridder and trying to bring him along slowly. And then that doesn't work out. They start again, and then it's another kind of 2 year slow running window where it's like, at what point do we get production out of Drake London? I guess is
well.
Like
My feeling is if it doesn't work out though, then they're in a position, like a really good position now to get, either I don't think they finished definitely being NFC low enough to probably be in position to get Caleb Williams, but maybe they could trade away the farm for Caleb Williams, which I doubt it because everybody's talking about Caleb Williams is literally. I mean, if Caleb Williams wins back-to-back Heismans, be the first quarterback to ever do something like that. I mean, he's going to be considered one of the greatest college prospects of all time.
Right.
People are going to be giving up the farm, and whoever has that pick is probably going to take Caleb Williams almost outside of who they have, unless it's like Jacksonville. But, I think if it does work out, then you're cool. Like, oh, cool, it kind of worked out. But if it doesn't, I think they're still in a position to get a good quarterback, whether it be Quinn Ewers, whether it be Drake May. I think they'll be in position to upgrade their quarterback situation regardless.
And the good news is when Ridder came in, I mean, look at the last 5 games of the season. They really funneled him targets. Drake London had 12, 11, 9, 8, and 8 over the last 5 games. So they really figured out where their bread was buttered, and they made sure that they got him the ball early and often there. And so I think Desmond Ridder was a big part of that. So I think he'll do him service this year. But either way, I think he's going to continue to get the ball.
I hope it does. Like, I don't want it to sound like I'm being negative on the guy and Desmond Ridder. But I mean, it's a concern. It is a concern. Yeah.
And you got to remember Arthur Smith offense, even though he ran a ton with Derrick Henry, he still would focus, like the number one wide receiver still got his target share and still produced. Yeah. So I have a feeling I know where Garrett's going here.
I was a little bit torn, but I couldn't pass up on Jackson Smith and Jigba.
I was wrong.
He was wrong. Then maybe the player you're thinking of was the one that like caught my eye. We'll see if he's still left for me when I come back around next. But part of it was you look at who I've graded, and this is purely as a prospect, but the guys that I've rated as the top 5 wide receivers since I've been doing the Nerd Score. They've been Devontae Smith, Jamar Chase, Garrett Wilson, CeeDee Lamb. So those have been the top 4. Number 5 with Jackson Smith and Jigba. So if he can be as talented as those players, we've seen all of those guys have legitimate success at the NFL level already. And they're all very young players still, but they're all very successful guys. All players that are getting taken in the top 3 or 4 rounds of a startup. Most of those guys are getting taken inside the top 2 rounds of a startup right now, with the exception of Smith that goes, in round 3. So if he's the type of player that can crack that type of score as a prospect into that range with those kind of players, I feel pretty good that he's going to have a good career. You add in the fact that Lockett is basically at the end here, so it's really going to just be him and DK Metcalf. And look, Metcalf's going to get his, but we've seen this offense have 2 successful wide receivers for a long time. So it's not like it's a concern as to whether or not they'll be able to make it work. So I love him as a prospect. I do like the situation. Obviously, I would have loved it if he would have been the one to go with, Justin Herbert or something like that. But I still think that this is a great situation. And all of the reports coming out have just been absolutely glowing, saying he's already, built a rapport with Geno Smith, and he looks so much more advanced than most rookies and things like that. And granted, this is fluff season. You hear that about almost every player.
It is very fluffy out there.
It is. It's very fluffy. But you watch his tape, none of that surprises me. Like, he did already look more advanced than a lot of rookies. So I believe that he can be that kind of player. And so I'm going to take him here.
Yeah, he's one of those players, if he didn't miss his entire year last year, he could have been taken even higher.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Definitely.
Fantastic hands, fantastic route runner. Not the fastest guy in the field, but what he does well, you don't need him to be the fastest on the field because he's going to win.
Yep, he gets open,
so
that's what counts.
And that leads just to a lot of PPR points as well. So this is somebody who I view as his floor. He's a consistent wide receiver too, like consistent. And that's a home run pick. Definitely where we're at right now. Again, just in his 3-year core where he's going. This is somebody who really has nowhere to go but up. I mean, true, he can go down, but from same with you, from watching all his tape, from following him from day one of his career, this is a player that I look at as a very safe player. And sometimes that's just worth its weight in gold as well.
Yeah.
But he's also that safe player that has that high upside. But if he turns into Tyler Lockett, like Tyler Lockett's been such a huge affordable asset in Dynasty over the last 4 to 5 years.
Yep.
Consistently being that wide receiver 13 to 16, somewhere around there. That's a championship caliber player. So
absolutely.
to get that kind of player on your roster is such a home run. Even though there's a lot of question marks in Seattle, like long-term with quarterback, that's 75% of the NFL. Like for long-term, like, is this truly the answer? And that's for teams that even have some quarterbacks that you feel comfortable with. So I love the pick.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great pick at this point. I'm a little bit jealous that he didn't fall me, and that you grabbed him right before I got a chance to scoop him up as well.
You had your chance, buddy.
You had your chance.
I did,
and you probably would have still got Jameson Williams.
Somebody's making out with the king.
Somebody is making out with the king. I know that I could have gotten Jameson Williams here, and that is okay because I took him.
You wanted to put your stamp on it. I get it.
I took him where I took him.
Yeah, you take him where you have.
Said what I said.
Yeah, exactly. Take him where you have him ranked. This isn't an actual draft where you'd wait. Like we're kind of like ranking our own players here.
Yeah. All right, so for me, I mean, the guys that are jumping off the page, right off this ADP coming down the list, are all kind of running backs and some wide receivers that I don't feel real comfortable with. So this being Superflex, I'm going to go back to the quarterback and get the last guy that I feel pretty solid about.
Unbelievable.
And I'm going to go Kenny Pickett right
I thought I was going to knock everybody's socks off by taking Kenny Pickett next pick.
No way, man.
I swear to God, that's what I thought I was.
I'm a slippery snake in there.
It's a great pick, man, because it's still super flex.
Yeah,
you have to grab him.
I have to grab him. I mean, none of the running backs they don't have long-term value in this format. So I'm going to go with the last guy that I feel really solid about. The other quarterbacks on the list are Trey Lance, Will Levis, and Brock Purdy, Mac Jones.
He does know his name. He just doesn't like to say it.
None of these guys are like, they don't make me feel good when I pick them. Kenny Pickett is the last guy that I actually feel good about. He showed out towards the end of last season. We're talking about this kind of going to be kind of a theme here with rookies and kind of showing out the second half of the season. And I think he kind of proved that the Steelers made a good pick and they know how to kind of bring guys along. And they're going to lean heavily on the run game, and that's okay. Najee is going to get a lot of work. He was the one running back that I was kind of thinking about taking, but how much tread is going to be left on those tires in 2 to 3 years? Because they're going to grind him into the ground. I feel like trying to get this offense going and get Kenny Pickett kind of up to speed in the NFL, but they've shown that it works, and that's the Steeler way is to kind of bring these guys along slowly. So I think Kenny Pickett's going to have another kind of building block year this year, and they're just going to keep kind of building on what he's done in years past and kind of giving him a little bit more until he's thriving in the NFL. So a few years from now, I think Kenny Pickett's going to be a nice little QB2, high-end QB2 option to low-end QB1. But he's never going to be that, in my opinion. I don't think he's got an upside of a top 5 quarterback, but in Superflex, I'm cool with that safety of a
quarterback
QB.
15.
Yeah, of a quarterback 15 right now.
Quarterback. If you're my quarterback 2 and you're quarterback 15 every single year, like that's a championship caliber player in my eyes. You're a top 70 overall scorer, most likely top 50, top 60 there. And you're right. The second half of that season, those last 5 games, he looked fabulous overall. I think for Pro Football Focus, like he was very highly graded over the last couple of games. Led some fourth quarter comebacks as well, so shows his moxie.
Made some nice throws and stuff too, like highlight stuff that you're like, oh, I didn't know that he had that trick in his bag. You know what I mean? So it is good to see that kind of stuff late in the season, especially young quarterbacks.
Upgraded offensive line, upgraded receiving core, upgraded tight end core, really building around him, which Pittsburgh is smart and going to do. They're going to really put Kenny Pickett in the best position. And when you play Superflex tight end premium, you are swinging for these quarterbacks. So they're worth their weight in gold, because even a quarterback 2 still holds trade value, because there's only 32 in the league, and some of those bottom guys are worth nothing. And usually you're in 12-man leagues. So if you are the have and you have that third quarterback, you're in a minority, because there's only 8 teams of the remaining 12 that can even possibly have a starting third quarterback. And
most of those guys are wishy-washy. They're the bridge guy before this guy gets here. And
I have Matt Stafford. You're like, and I like Jared Goff a ton, but that could be your guy.
I have Aaron Rodgers. Hope he's the guy, but we don't know.
So Pickett, we know he's the guy, and he's honestly even started up some of the best value you could possibly get. I got him the Kings Classic inaugural draft, and I should probably put that on Twitter too. Check that out with a lot of really big names in there. I had a privilege to draft against for the Kings Classic. So I love Kenny Pickett. I love the situation is. I love to see him grow into year 2 and see what he become. They really kind of just established himself as like the Jared Goff of the NFL, which I'm more than happy to have.
And I think it was the week that you were gone, Matt. We talked a little bit about quarterbacks and which ones we were buying, which ones selling. Kenny Pickett was a buy for you, and he was like a borderline sell for me. And I kind of talked about some of the reasons why his season was the worst as a rookie since Mitch Trubisky, fantasy points wise, and for guys that started more than 12 games, I think it was. But that being said, I don't mind him being taken here because there are some signs that he could be in a better situation. I love talking about the head coach, offensive coordinator, young quarterback in a third season together. That's huge. So I do expect better things this year. I'm just not super high on him as a player individually, but in this format, without the ability to be able to take some of the other quarterbacks around him that I have no problem with him going here.
And that's what you're thinking. Like you're thinking, well, Kenny Pickett's not the best quarterback, but when you're looking that way, you're like, that's the wrong way to look at it. Is Kenny Pickett going to score more points on a points per game basis long term than Najee Harris, Kenneth Walker, Travis Etienne, Treylon Burks, Jordan Addison?
Yep.
The odds are, even if he's just a middle of the road, the answer is yes.
Right.
If he's even just middle of the road, and what you're really doing is just like swinging here for middle of the road, hoping there's more higher upside there. But you're like, okay, I'll take middle of the road here. And when it comes to Superflex, I think too many people don't feel comfortable with that, right? Like it's like just kind of like some of these players we talked about before, like the Tyler Lockett's, the Robert Woods for years. The guys we consistently talk about that constantly produce, but like they're always like the kind of afterthought. They're always getting traded. Nobody wants to draft them. Like they're the value in dynasty startups because they produce, but maybe they're a little bit older, or like you said, they're not sexy enough because they're never going to be a wide receiver one. But we talk about on the show all the time. You have to be extremely comfortable with wide receiver twos, running back twos, because we talk about all the time. There's only 12 wide receiver ones. It's like such a huge misconception out there of like what you're reaching for. Like everybody's thinking they're putting their hands in this giant vat of gold, and meanwhile, all they're pulling out is gold colored crayons, right? Like it's not gold. It's just
waxy.
Yeah, it's waxy, dude.
It's melting. It's waxy.
So I'm on the clock here, and I'm looking at a couple players here, and I'm actually going to go positional value, just kind of like how you did. And when it comes to positional value, you always got to look at the league that you play in the scoring format. It's a big problem. Some people don't Some people don't pay attention to it. They look at like they don't realize they're playing Superflex, so let these quarterbacks slip. It's a mistake. They don't realize it's tight end premium, and you need to hug up the tight ends. And I'm taking Dalton Kincaid here because
I know it.
One, I absolutely love the player. I love him from literally day one that I watched his tape. I had to do a scouting report for Mike Finaro for the Finaro podcast, Rookie Fever podcast. And I've had a huge hit rate doing his show too for the rookies that I pick. And what I love about Dalton Kincaid is he's the number 2 there, the Stephon Diggs in Buffalo. And they've constantly looked for this number 2 in the passing game. I love Ken Dorsey as the offensive coordinator there. Obviously, I love Josh Allen. I love this team and where it's going. Brandon Beak gets an extension. Sean McDermott gets an extension. And Dalton Kincaid's essentially just a big receiver, right?
Yeah.
That's what he is. He's got some of the best hands in his entire draft. He's got one of the largest wingspans in this draft. He runs extremely good routes for being a tight end.
He really does.
And he does all this only playing football for pretty much the last 4 years of his life, 4 to 5 years of his life. So he's got so much room to grow. And not only does to me, there's a clear path to him being the number 2 weapon in this offense, but even going to year 2, when Stephon Diggs is hitting at year 30 age, there's even a more clear path. Not saying this is 100% going to turn into fruition, but there is a path for him to become the Travis Kelce number 1 option in this offense. Sure. So for me, when it comes to tight ends, it's about target share, target share, target share. This is where a situation meets a target share opportunity with a player I absolutely love his tape, like adore. One of my, him, TJ Hawkinson, like there's always a tight end I where it's like I'm walking out in the cold and my nipples are just so hard, like everybody knows how happy I am, or not happy, how excited. I don't even call that excited.
Freezing cold you are?
Yeah, that's a wrong analysis. Anytime I can bring it, anytime I bring up nipples, Garrett, take your shirt off. I'm going to do it. So for me, Dalton Kincaid is the pick here. I absolutely love him. I think he's great value. I wish I had more shares of him. I still don't think I'm in 20 dynasty leagues, and my favorite tight end, I still don't think I have a single share of Dalton Kincaid.
Guess who's got him in our dynasty league?
I know you did. I tried to offer you George Kittle, and you're like, I rejected this trade 4 months ago. I'm like, oh, son of a bee, I think you did. I think you did.
You tried to give me George Kittle, and you wanted my first and
Which is I want a
Mike
1-7.
Gesicki. Yeah.
Well, I didn't know how much you like Gesicki. I love Gesicki. I didn't know how much you liked him.
I was like, I already rejected this a month ago, dude. Same
I thought
exact
maybe you
trade.
counter me with like, no Gesicki. Here's just 1-7 for Kittle. Like your team's on the up. You're ready to compete.
is.
Like I
It
thought you
is.
could use an established tight end. But I got denied.
Nah.
Listen. The one thing I always do is I find a way to get my tight ends. Always do.
Find a way.
Because I'll overpay for that long-term longevity, and
You could trade down from 1-1 in the Nerds Invitational.
don't
Trade down.
That ain't happening. Ain't happening. But don't worry, baby. It's only June.
It's
I
only
got
June.
July. I got August. I got September.
Can happen.
Dude, I'm like Frodo on the path, man. Right, I'm just heading. That Dark Tower is Dalton Kincaid. I'm coming. Coming.
All right. Well, I was really hoping you guys were going to make this easier for me because there's a lot of running backs here that I really like. And there's 3 in particular. One, Javonte Williams has been the love of my life.
Favorite.
Forever.
Favorite
Williams.
Favorite
Dog
Williams.
Cade's my husband material.
You're right.
Javonte's your husband.
Exactly. But here's what makes it tricky. Last year, I spent all offseason beating the drum for Ramondre Stevenson. And he looks just as good as ever. And we're getting even more reports about how much Bill Belichick loves him. And then the guy this offseason that I've been beating the drum for all offseason because he's undervalued is Najee Harris.
Yeah.
So there's 3 guys here that I could easily see myself taking.
And you're not Mormon, so.
I can't. I can only take one. But at the end of the day, the heart wants what the heart wants. And so I'll take Javonte Williams.
You can't deny true love.
That's right. Javonte Williams, fantastic running back. Love the new situation with Sean Payton. I think they're going to really be able to utilize him in ways that he hasn't been utilized before. All of the reports are really looking good as far as him maybe even being ready to start the season, which
I've heard good things. Yeah.
every time that there's like people wondering, there's a GM, a coach, a trainer, somebody putting out a report that he's at or ahead of schedule. He's doing this, he's doing that. So I'm really optimistic.
All their lack of big time moves and stuff as well
Yes.
kind of points to that as also being at least a.
Samaje Perine, the huge move of Samaje Perine. Look, I like Perine. He's a nice player, but nobody envisions him being a top 24 caliber type of running back. It's going to be Javonte Williams as the lead back for this team whenever he's ready. And look, even if all of the reports are wrong, and he is still, it's going to take him till week 6 that he's ready, or week 8, or the end of the season. I'm okay with that because I believe in this player that much. I think he's that talented. We're talking about a truly elite tackle breaker. Like in college, at the first year in the NFL, the forced missed tackle rate was absolutely absurd.
It was him and Chubb, and we all know Chubb is fantastic. He's amazing.
He's just the best running back in the NFL.
Just the best guy in the NFL. So I am going to go Javonte Williams, and I feel great about it.
I mean, I don't blame you, man. I would feel pretty good about it also. I was really thinking about taking him if he was around with the next pick.
Yeah.
I knew he would. Yeah. But, I like the pick. So on to my
Well,
choice.
I got any analysis on Javonte
Yeah.
Williams?
All right. Let us.
No,
He's going to
you
be
don't have
negative.
anything to say.
Okay.
Are you going to be negative or positive?
You don't have anything
Listen,
to say.
as an official Javonte Williams owner now.
That's true.
because
He is now
in the
your favorite
King
Williams.
Classic startup, he was my running back 3. I took him. And I do like Javonte Williams, but I think there's a window to buy Javonte Williams.
Now.
And it could be
always.
now, but I also think you have time early.
It's a huge window.
I think even though all these reports he looks great, we saw him just finally on the field, he's finally on the field. Doesn't mean anything. He's not making contact. If he does not start in a pup, you're right, it's looking like he's not, which is great news, not starting a pup. Even if he doesn't, he's still not going to be the guy week 1 or week 2 or week 3. It'll probably be week 6, 7, 8, somewhere around there, which we don't have to wait too long. But on that, still Sean Payton is the head coach. Sean Payton has a history of always running 2 running backs. They have a history of almost his entire coaching career where those 2 running backs each get 10 plus carries. Now, Javonte will be the head guy for sure. But there is a small part of me, where does he evolve into that PPR game? And that's my biggest question mark with Javonte. Because, if there's any role for him in there, that he's an absolute monster. But if someone gets limited, he's still a high-quality asset, and I still like him a ton. This is not a Javonte diss, though. to me, I do like the idea of, again, a guy here, like you mentioned, like a guy that's in the same age bracket that is the guy in both aspects of the game. And there's two guys kind of on the list here that are that way. So where I'd kind of lean those two guys, but I don't hate to pick. Like you said.
Now, are you the two guys you're talking about? Are you talking about Ramondre and Harris? Or are you talking about Etienne and Walker? Because they have a higher ADP.
No, I'm talking about Ramondre and Harris.
I am worried a little bit about their situation.
Yeah, I have my questions about those. And I'm one of the biggest Kenneth Walker. I said take him ahead of Garrett Wilson.
Love him.
Like if I could turn back time, if Cher was my lover, like I would turn back time right now and take Garrett Wilson all day. Like what a mistake. But I still like the player.
But it's not like he had a bad rookie season. He looked great as a rookie.
It was a fantastic rookie season.
Right.
It's that I'm worried about. It's not Kenneth Walker's not the issue. It's Schneider is the issue. Getting there with a second round pick. It's like, oh, you get a second round pick at running back. You get a second round. Man, I would slap his mama. I would not do that, by the way. That's just a complete joke.
His mother is safe.
Oh, yeah, she's for now.
For the back to the Javonte Williams. Before I move on,
there we go.
43, I think, were the receptions that he had his rookie season, and 16 in just a very short 4-game window last year. So
it's not his ability; it's Sean Payton's coaching style and where he uses Samaje Perine. It has nothing to do with his ability.
I mean, you think Perine would be the passing game option ahead of Javonte Williams?
I kind of do.
Really?
Yeah, early.
It's possible. I mean, he did do that in Cincinnati. Yeah. That was kind of his role,
right?
But I'm with you. I wonder at the end of the day, we'll see how healthy he is and how he looks coming back from the injury. But I think he's just as talented of a pass catcher as Perine.
2024 is all Javonte Williams all day long.
Yeah.
It's literally just. But again, I say this
it's a bridge,
and I do. But I say that all the time. Like to me, when we talk about it's just this year with Javonte. Every year matters for running back.
It does.
Like every single year. So to me, anytime it says, well, it's just this year with Javonte, it's like, dude, you're talking about almost 25% of his entire dynasty, like hardcore value there. So like that's the only difference there. Like, so to me, if I get one more year of a player at like full value, like I would just take that. That's like my deal breaker.
Sure.
Again, this has nothing to do with Javonte whatsoever. Like love the player. It's just
the injury.
Let's see how 2023 plays out. I might be wrong, but I feel like he's going to be, of course, I think his second half is going to like, kind of skew the numbers, which of course that's where you want him the second half of the season for the playoff run.
Right.
It's just I think that first half of the season is going to be very low end running back.
The other small part of it for Javonte, well, I guess it's two things, but one, and Matt kind of alluded to it, they didn't draft anybody. I thought for certain that they were going to draft somebody in round 3, 4, 5, somewhere in there. They didn't touch anybody in the draft, but then all the reports of like what a hard worker this kid is. And it also proved like he had a crazy high GPA. Like he was, honor roll type of guy. So it shows that he's like a hard worker. And I like seeing that kind of stuff for guys coming off of injury, because how hard are they pushing to be ready, to be the exception to the rule?
Right.
Doesn't mean he will, but I like those types of guys.
Yeah, no, absolutely too. I like that as well. For me, I feel like they're starting to dry up a little bit as far as running backs go. So I'm starting to get a little bit nervous. I think I'm going to snag the last guy I feel pretty good about. Okay. And I am going to go ahead and grab Najee. I just feel like the question marks really aren't there for him like they are for some of the other guys. You kind of laid them out, Kenneth Walker, Etienne, both those guys are kind of getting competition. And there is Ramondre, but for me, I know everything's lining up. Everyone feels good about him. There's so many positive reports coming out about him. Bill Belichick, he's got a space in my brain. He lives there. He stays there 24 hours a day, rent free, 7 days a week. So I just can't do it, especially with the running backs. So I'm going to go the real safe running back route and just go Najee Harris.
Najee Harris coming off the previous year, entered first round Dynasty startup talk, right? Finished as top 3, top 4 overall?
Yeah, he was. I think he was the number 3 overall back after his rookie
running back. And then all of a sudden Najee just kind of like fell off a cliff in the Dynasty community. I never understood it whatsoever.
I mean, obviously he wasn't getting fed all the dump off passes that he was getting, and on top of that, he still had a bad line. So that was last year. Very bad. You know what I mean? That was last year. That's what caused the dip that you're talking about.
What we saw though, there's so many more factors in that, and again, everything's so short-sighted sometimes when it comes to fantasy, and you look, it's so easy to look at the overall finish or where they finished, or look at things in small. That's why so many good like analysts will tell you, like, I don't care about anything but points per game. That's all that matters to me. And when you look at Najee Harris compared to the first half of the season, when you go the first 8 games compared to the second half of the year, kind of like what we talked about Drake London, where Drake London saw slight improvements, Najee Harris saw drastic improvements. Like his carries per game went up almost 50%. His targets per game, they didn't go up the second half, but they stayed right around the same. But his points per game in PPR went up about 4 points per game the second half of the season as Kenny Pickett got a little bit better.
And he got healthy. Remember, he was dealing with that foot injury all year.
So to me, I think Najee Harris, like, in Dynasty overall, from a trade value, we've seen a little bit more smoke coming out of the choo-choo train these days, so it's getting a little bit louder, a little bit closer. Choo-choo comes Najee. So I think the price might go up a little bit, but when you're looking for a running back buy with long-term and young success, like these running backs that we really are willing to go out and buy that scream value, I think Najee Harris does kind of scream value right now, where I'm looking at that team and, like, whether it be rookie picks I have this year they're really excited about, or whether it be like they need a receiver, they need a tight end, where there's a path to acquire him, because I would love to get Najee Harris.
Yeah, big time production. I mean, he's gonna get the carries, and he's gonna get the production that you're looking for, and
he's about as safe as they come at running back.
Exactly.
Jalen Warren's there; he's a little bit more involved in the PPR game, but still, it's gonna be the Najee Harris show.
I wouldn't be shocked if he had 75 to 80% of the total touches out of the backfield.
Yep, me neither.
All right, so I'm up, and I'm looking at some players here. Again, there's still a lot of players I like here. There's a couple running backs, and I know I've been saying Ramondre's name here, but any chance?
Yeah, just leave him. Leave him for other people. I am going to leave it.
There's a strong case to be made for him, and you can never go wrong, but I'm always going to grab the young receiver when I find a value. And there's 2 guys here I'm really looking at, but I'm still going to stick with my guy. Kind of like you said about Javonte, like Treylon Burks throughout this whole process, even his rookie process. I know you didn't love him. You guys weren't as big as him on him as I am. But I'm going to take Treylon Burks because it goes back to a team that does not have a lot of options out there at the receiving position. Derrick Henry, this is probably going to be his last year on the Titans in himself. It'll probably be Ryan Tannehill's last year on the Titans. But the one thing that will be there through this rebuild, and whether it be a new young quarterback, and as this kind of turns out through of talent, it's going to be Treylon Burks. He'll be the number 1 receiver on there. They literally traded pretty much A.J. Brown for Treylon Burks. Like, he's the guy. All offseason reports are saying that he's looking faster. I never had really a question about his hands. And where he's really dynamic is with the ball in his hands.
Yep.
So what I love about the Treylon Burks for 2023 is not just a player itself. I love that he's looking leaner. I love that he's looking faster, because I know that was your biggest
that was like my
huge biggest qualm about him.
Exactly.
And right now he's looking lean. He's looking fast.
He supposedly stayed there all off season.
Ton of work he's putting in. So again, I'm getting a number 1 receiver on a team that's probably going to have to throw the football a ton, definitely for the division they're in and the conference they're in. They're going to throw the football a ton. And Treylon Burks is going to be the number 1 guy in this offense. The number 2 guy right now on paper looks like to be Chig Okonkwo, the tight end, and then probably Kyle Phillips. Again, great buys. I'd love to have him on my roster, but give me the number 1 guy that they're going to feed the football to. Kind of. And then the GM's got to kind of he's got to protect himself a little bit too. Like, he traded A.J. Brown for this pick. Like, he's got to show that he made a good decision.
Well, it's a new GM now.
Oh, it is a new GM. You're right. They did get rid of their guy.
Yep.
Mike Vrabel's got to say, hey, I'm the head coach, and I okayed this, and I got to back this up. I forgot they did get rid of him.
Yeah, they said, see ya.
So, for me, this is a pick. This is my guy.
That move was terrible.
I'm really excited for the 23 year, and he showed signs last year. Got a little bit banged up. He showed signs that he could be a number 1 in the NFL.
Well, I remember talking about it right after the draft, and even though I wasn't the biggest Treylon Burks guy, I said Treylon Burks was the biggest winner of the draft. Biggest winner out of anybody. The fact that they did not touch the wide receiver position in the draft was crazy to me. I even apart from him being the top receiver on the team, I just thought they needed depth there, and they didn't touch it at all. So that truly shows that they do believe in him.
That they just want to run the ball.
They just want to give it to Derrick Henry and Spears. I'm gonna throw Spears in there too.
Before we get your guy,
okay,
you gotta tell us about our friends at FFPC.
Oh, of course I do. FFPC launched in 2010, home of the largest high stakes dynasty community in fantasy football. Over 1,000 active leagues. And look, you can enter a $100 league, just, having fun, a good time. You're like, no, I want to do high stakes, like truly high stakes. enter $2,500, maybe even $5,000 league. Ooh. Best of all, their leagues do not fold. They have never, ever had a single FFPC Dynasty league
that's still
fold.
Amazing to me.
That is wild because I see leagues fold all the time.
Yep.
All the time. So the fact that they have not had one fold is awesome. Their orphan process, if a team does leave, they're able to replace people quickly. Sometimes they even give discounts to make sure that your league does fill up. So go over there to myffpc.com. Look for the Dynasty page. You can look at all the orphans, all that kind of stuff. But best of all, use promo code NERDS and you will get $25 off any entry if you're a new member. So promo code NERDS at myffpc.com.
My number one question I see on Twitter all the time, like, I'm trying to join a Dynasty league. Where do I go?
Yep.
And it's so easy to try to find people. The easiest thing to do is go to myffpc.com. It really is. If you want to play Dynasty, if you're listening to this podcast and you're enjoying the format, or more so like you're in a league, but you want to join another league with different league mates and you're kind of having a hard time, this is the spot 100%. Garrett, who are you going with?
I have to go with Ramondre now. I had a whole thing planned out in my head of who I was going to talk about next and why I was taking him and all this stuff. And then Ramondre was still there. So I do have to take Ramondre Stevenson. I remember after, before the season, I talked about he was one of the biggest buys for me. I didn't trust Harris. It looked like that they were really using Ramondre more in the receiving game. He's obviously, built to be a goal line back. So the valuable touches, I thought were going to go to him. And then Harris got a little banged up and Ramondre just took off with the job.
Right.
Took off with the job, held on to it all year. Crazy good season. He had a couple bummer games at the end of the year, so it left a little bit of a sour taste in some people's mouths. But we're talking, at the midpoint of the season, he was putting 17-point game, 19-point game, 22. Like he was just putting back to back fantastic games. And even this week, James White was in an interview, and they were talking to him, and they were talking about how Bill Belichick always says committee. And he's like, and they were talking about Dalvin Cook potentially going there. He's like, look, it could happen, I guess, but Bill Belichick loves Ramondre. I do not see Dalvin Cook going there. It's the entire job is Ramondre's for the taking. And when you can see, former players that played with this guy saying that and know Bill Belichick, I mean, there's not many players that would know Bill Belichick better than James White with all that time that he spent there. It just reaffirmed what we saw last year with him being a legitimate running back one for your fantasy team, that he could definitely prove that and do that again this year.
I mean, all that is good. It's good pub and it sounds good. And I hope it's true. Mm-hmm. I honestly do. I don't trust it.
It's weird.
I have a trust issue. I've been hurt
too many times,
Garrett.
But he's efficient to one. My gut tells me, and it's so hard because like once this does happen, like the price goes up. He's already an expensive player as it is. Like there's everything that you read about like how like Bill does like him. There's a part of me that thinks a Ramondre gets extended at some point.
It could happen.
He's a later round pick, right? He knows the running back market is kind of doo-doo and kind of comes in and signs like almost like an Alexander Madison deal.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Where it's like
2 or 3 years.
Hey, yeah.
Just getting $6
million a year. Like nothing crazy as the cap keeps going up. And like all of a sudden now he's like, wow, he's got this like 2 to 3 year window now of like more on top of this year. So like that he might have this like 3-year window, which is on top of already the year that he's had,
done, yeah.
Which gives him a 4-year window, which is like, when it comes to dynasty running backs, that's like hip hooray. You know what I mean? Like I've struck gold. So it's not 100%, but like the one reason I would want to buy on Ramondre is like there is that value because him not being like a high pick like Etienne or Najee Harris or even like a guy like Kenneth Walker, it's like they're already making really good money for them. Like some of those guys would take a pay cut on their second contract.
They might.
Where Ramondre would be getting a significant raise, and he's like, "Listen, dude, if Dalvin Cook's getting cut, if Zeke can't find a job, like you're giving me $10 million guaranteed, I'm taking it."
Yep.
Like, hey, here's a 4-year deal, $15 million, $8 million guaranteed. Like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm in. Or $18 million deal, 10 guaranteed. Like, I'm in. Like, I could see that happen. Like, part of my gut, like if I was looking in my crystal ball, it's real too dusty. I can't look into them too much. We'd be in there. So, how many more picks do you think we got room for?
We've been Gabby on this episode.
Yeah, we have been Gabby.
Hey, we got a lot more to go in the next episode, too.
So maybe we'll just get through one more each, huh?
One more each?
Yeah.
End it off again in the awkward middle of the third round?
Exactly.
I love it.
Yep.
It's not the third round, Garrett.
but it kind of is. So
we're in the exact same spot, 15 and 15.
Yeah,
exactly.
It would give us 15 again. Or no, it would only give us 12.
Oh,
that's all right. Yeah, we've gone exactly.
We haven't even done a round.
We've gone exactly around from where we were.
dude, the deeper you go, the more
you have to think about it.
Yeah,
It really is a lot to think about.
not a lot
to
to
talk
say when you
about.
take Trevor Lawrence. Like,
Yeah.
why? I don't know. His hair looks great.
Great quarterback.
He's
My hair looked great.
fantastic. So for me, again, I feel like I'm at this spot where the running backs are kind of looking for me. That Ramondre probably was the last one that felt pretty good, and for me, he didn't even really feel that good. So I'm gonna go. I think I'm gonna switch back to the wide receivers. Rich kind of did it last time, and I thought he was gonna take this guy, but I forgot about his love for Treylon Burks. But I'm gonna go Dotson, not Rich Dotson. Jihad.
Yeah, because I'm number one.
Exactly.
Dotson.
So I'm going to grab him. Love the young talent right there. I mean, obviously he's there with another very talented wide receiver in
Terry
Terry
McLaurin.
McLaurin. Thank you. In my brain, all I had was Terry Robisky, and I'm like, no,
Not
it's
a talented
Terry.
receiver.
It's not.
But
him.
a former Buckeye as well, though.
That's what screwed me up.
Yeah.
It really is. My Buckeye brain went a little haywire. But obviously the quarterback situation's got to get figured out there. But Bellamy coming in, Bieniemy, Eric.
Yo, MTV Raps.
Bellamy.
My brain is fried right now.
Was Eric Bellamy on Yo MTV Raps?
It's not like we have.
I know he's on
show to do.
MTV.
I can't remember.
Me neither.
Yeah, he was definitely MTV though.
Oh, that's 100%.
Garrett doesn't even know who
And
he
he was a
is.
comedian.
No idea.
You know Eric Bellamy? Okay.
All right. Anyway, Eric Bieniemy there as the offensive coordinator is going to bring some good things, but they're going to spread the ball around. All these wide receivers are going to be getting a lot more action, I feel like, as long as they get that quarterback situation kind of figured out. The sky's the limit for all these guys.
And he produced even when they didn't have the quarterback situation.
When he was healthy, he was
touchdown machine.
He was just fantastic.
touchdown. Like he didn't even have to try, and he would just score touchdowns.
I think he's an undervalued player. Like a very
much so.
dude, first round pedgree, efficient route runner, good hands, has a nose for the end zone. Like, what else are you looking
Started
for?
off hot last year, disappeared towards the middle of the season with some little ticky-tacky injuries and stuff like that, but came back and proved at the end of the year that he could still do it. And
Dude, it's a simple puzzle to solve. It's because they have Terry McLaurin and no proof at quarterback. You know, like that's
why he's sliding.
which is great. Like you always take the talent,
Yep.
over everything else, and you look for buying windows like that. So it just kind of gives Jahan Dotson a pretty good window. And remember, Terry McLaurin's like an older
Yes, he's
receiver. He'll be 28 going to this. Like he turns 28 this year, so it's not like he's still got plenty of time. But like
no spring chicken.
you say Terry McLaurin's name, you're like, oh, he's still one of those younger guys.
He'll be 28 in September, too. It's like right at the beginning of the season. So,
Yeah, so he turns 28 early. So okay, I'm kind of gonna. I bet this is kind of a shock a little bit. I mean,
Shocking.
I love Kenneth Walker. I do. Travis Etienne's pretty good. I'm gonna go Christian Watson.
Okay.
I am kind of shocked. I'm not going to lie.
Dude, I see a lot of stuff on Twitter about Christian Watson going, oh, you got to sell him, overrated, blah, blah, blah. And maybe, but I mean,
But maybe not.
dude, when it comes to this game, there's a lot of maybes. Like everything's a maybe. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of maybes. And what Christian Watson showed me last year, and people are like, and I don't want to hear any of this, like, oh, Aaron Rodgers. Like, Aaron Rodgers had one of his most inefficient years he's ever had in his entire career. Like, Aaron Rodgers was not the MVP Aaron Rodgers last year. Right. You know, and you could blame the weapons around him. But listen, when you're an MVP quarterback or Hall of Fame quarterback, like, you elevate the players around you. And you can easily say, oh, he elevated Christian Watson. But listen, we all knew Christian Watson coming out was a high upside player, right? Like, who needed time to develop kind of North Dakota. And when he did come in and play last year, yeah, I mean, he didn't average a ton of catches, but he's a big-time receiver.
When he caught it,
when
it went far.
He was averaging 4 catches per game, but he was averaging over 75 yards per game, right? He was averaging over a touchdown per game. This is somebody who saw just coming in last year in the limited amount of games they played. I think there wasn't a ton of games where he played a ton of snaps. Like, he was limited to like.
Are you talking about his college?
No, and for the Packers last year. But, I mean, he was seeing close to 25% of the target share.
Weeks 10 through 13 is where he went nuts, right? That's where he scored seven touchdowns in a 4-week span and was, just totally bonkers. He was, inconsistent.
Very inconsistent.
Other than that, and I think that's why there's probably backlash, and who knows what you're getting for. But he's a high second pick in the second round, 6'5", 208 pounds. Like he is what you want out of an outside wide receiver.
And I would expect inconsistent. They're like, we talked about, like, this is somebody who's going to need time to develop. Like, I expected inconsistencies. And what I look at here is like, yeah, there's a risk, but again, I see the upside as well here. And at the worst case, like you mentioned, he's one of the highest drafted receivers they've taken in a long time. Yes, they take Jaden Reed. Yes, they took Luke Musgrave. But outside of that, there's not a lot of options here. And there's definitely no like season options here to be number one guy. With him, Jordan Love have a whole offseason in the same offense to build this rapport here.
It's basically him and Dobbs.
Romeo Dobbs. Yeah, so like there's not a lot of other options here. And Christian Watson will be the number one receiver on this team. So again, I'm grabbing like number one guys here, right? Like for sure fire number one guys. Even Dotson, who I like a ton, like Terry McLaurin's the number one guy there. Christian Watson's in position to see the target share. Like give me that 22 to 25% target share. Give me those big time plays that kind of make up for maybe the overshare of receptions. But like if he does see an increase of about, I want to say almost double. So from 4 catches a game to about 6 to 7, you're talking about a guy that's going to catch 6 to 7 footballs per game, averaging 100 yards per game. I don't expect that slightly over 1 touchdown ratio to continue, but a 0.75 point touchdown ratio, like that's a low end wide receiver 1, high end wide receiver 1 kind of player we're talking about here. So a lot of risk I involved here, a lot of maybes, but again, that's the game we play. And anytime I can grab that, beautiful, maybe. Yeah, maybe it's a mirage. Like, I'm putting my arms around it, baby. Come here and give daddy a smooch.
All right. He could be fantastic. And that's obviously what you're shooting for.
And I think that you're right. I'm shooting for that. But I honestly think with him, like, the floor is like, I think his floor is high end wide receiver 3. That's his floor. Like a high end wide receiver 3.
I mean, I could see that just all based off of the fact that
there's no one else.
There's no one else there.
Yeah.
I mean,
so
he's the guy.
I have a starter, like worst case. It's not like I'm swinging and missing here and I got a turd for it. I got to flush down the toilet.
I mean, unless that entire offense is just a freaking disaster, which you never know. It could be.
It could be.
But that would be the only way that happens.
And you even saw him as a prospect, even though, his hands were a little inconsistent at times at North Dakota State and things like that. I love when I see guys go to the Senior Bowl and are showing off their finer skills. And he was torching guys at the Senior Bowl with route running and things that are not just pure size and speed. So when you have those things, but you also have a few of the finer things that you can add into it, I think that does spell good success. So while I agree that this is a very risky pick, the reward in it, I think, is more than worth it to take him at this point.
There's no difference in taking him than taking Quentin Johnston here. You know what I mean? Like,
absolutely.
It's the same kind of like thing I'm looking at here. So like people are like, oh, take Quentin Johnston. It's the same thing. I'm taking the same player. I'm just getting one guy ahead. I saw a dude in the NFL level. And I saw him.
And he's got a clear path like this year for targets. Yeah.
And a player that didn't let early fall. Remember, like his first play.
He had that big drop.
His first play of him coming back was a deep target down the sideline from Aaron Rodgers, and he dropped it for a touchdown. And he didn't like Aaron Rodgers stuck with it, kept going with him, and like you saw his confidence build and what it turned into. So he now just has to do with Jordan Love. He has a good head coach. Let's see how it turns out. Who's the last pick of our show?
I feel like this is about to be Matt's Jameson Williams pick, where it's like, did you really need to take him here now?
You do what you gotta do.
You might have been able to get him in a few picks or so.
He's taking Will Levis.
Oh my God! Don't take Rashad White right here.
Oh, I just threw up in my mouth a little bit.
I'm going all the way down to my boy Brock Purdy.
What? I like it.
Brock Purdy. His ADP right now with the Nerds is 116 overall, quarterback 27. But here's the thing: the ADP for Trey Lance is quarterback 19, pick 66 off the board.
That's silly.
I can't. Listen.
I still don't understand it.
I still can't believe. Like, if you're an avid Nerd Herd listener, like you should send me a cake. I'm literally the first person in this entire industry. I will bet my life on it that said, you need to sell Trey Lance now. Like,
sure.
That was like way early. And people were like, you're a moron. Well, who's the moron now?
Well, we even saw another report that he's throwing. He was down in Jacksonville.
Time will tell who's the moron.
Trey Lance is reportedly the third quarterback on the depth chart.
Look,
Look.
He looks terrible so far. Even throwing the football, he looks terrible.
Brock Purdy, I have all the confidence in the world that Brock Purdy is going to be their starter week 1 if healthy. Like, I have no questions about that. And all the reports are that he's throwing, he's making all the strides. Tom Pelissero said that he is on track to start week 1. Like, it came out today.
Today it came out. He's going, I think, tomorrow.
He's in Jacksonville.
To go throw.
Yes.
Like he's throwing with his orthopedic surgeon and somebody else.
So if you told me that we knew for sure that he was going to be the starter, which we still don't know for sure, but everything points to him being the starter week 1, where would he be going? Like, he would easily be going in this range.
Right here.
He would easily be going in this range. So, and I think that's the thing, yes, is Kenneth Walker or Travis Etienne or Jordan Addison a good pick here? Yes, all of those guys are just fine here. But the odds of them improving that much on their ADP at this point, probably not a ton between now and next year.
Oh, no.
Like, they're going to be, but
They're locked in where they're at.
Brock Purdy could absolutely catapult.
Yeah. I took, where did I take Kenny Pickett? 2.7 in this, whatever this little mock thing,
Right.
what we're doing here. But he could be above Kenny Pickett
Yeah,
easily,
absolutely.
just because the offense he's in and how much they're going to maybe open that thing up in year 2 of Brock Purdy.
Kyle Shanahan has a history of taking average quarterbacks to make them look fantastic through the schemes he devised and the confusion he puts on the defense, right? And look at the weapons he has around him. These are some of the best weapons Kyle Shanahan's ever had. This is a quarterback that made Brian Hoyer look absolutely fantastic and give Browns a winning record until he was literally forced to put Johnny Manziel in at quarterback. Yeah. When you look at Brock Purdy, when he actually came in to be the guy, it was right around week 13. Right? That's when it was. So right around week 13 is when Brock Purdy came on, had that fabulous run in the playoffs as well. From week 13 on, for the last 5 weeks of the season, Brock Purdy was quarterback number 9 overall. He was better than Geno Smith. He was better than Daniel Jones. He's better than Tom Brady. He's better than Russell Wilson. That's where he was. Quarterback 9 overall. Now, do I think Brock Purdy's quarterback 9 over now? No, absolutely not. But in Kyle Shanahan's system, with the weapons around him, he will produce.
Absolutely.
He's got every player that you see in that offense, you say, just put the ball in their hands. And Kyle Shanahan knows that. He divides schemes to put the ball in Debo's hands, balls either behind the scrimmage or at the line of scrimmage. Christian McCaffrey, get the ball in the passing game outside. He had over 100 targets last year, Christian McCaffrey.
George Kittle, Brandon Ayuk, like so many weapons.
The weapons are there. So Brock Purdy is going to produce, and he's probably a top 16 quarterback this year, right around there if he's fully healthy.
And he's young.
Again, is a top 60 overall player, right around there. Maybe he finishes quarterback 18, but overall, when he was a starter last year for the San Francisco 49ers, being Mr. Irrelevant at that point, first year in the system, not knowing a ton, obviously he's pretty smart, quarterback 9 overall. So when we're talking about screaming value, this is tremendous value.
Let me ask you, because I was talking about Kenny Pickett. Would you guys, if you knew Brock Purdy was 100% healthy, would you rather have Brock Purdy or Kenny Pickett?
I personally would probably have Brock Purdy. I can understand the Pickett argument because of the safety of the first round pick. I think that's the only thing that I can say that he has over Brock Purdy. But I think Brock Purdy proved it in points per game.
Yeah.
He proved it in the big moments of the playoffs.
Right.
I mean, he did anything you would want a rookie quarterback to do. So I would say Brock Purdy.
His hands are bigger than Three Musketeers small bars.
Yep.
Which helps. I would probably still take Kenny Pickett too, but I think they're in the same range.
But it's close. And the fact that we're talking about a guy that was taken in the first round and the guy that was taken the very last pick in the draft.
Right.
And he's closed the gap that significantly in 1 year where he's been injured. Like, you know what I mean? He ended the season with an injury, a pretty serious injury that he's coming back from. The fact that he's closed that gap that significantly in 1 year would point to a trajectory that Brock Purdy is going to be the way better prospect in 2 years if healthy.
In the Kings Classic, where I told you I did Kenny Pickett as my quarterback 2 behind Deshaun Watson, just a couple picks later, I took Brock Purdy.
Look at that.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Oh, against all these big time analysis. Think they're better than me? I'll show you guys. Purdy Mania.
Purdy.
Pretty good pick.
Team's looking pretty good.
So that's it. Get out there. Join the Nerd Herd. Get on Underdog. Check out our app. Download it. If you like the show, leave a rating and review. Check out dynastynerds.com. If you ever want to talk Dynasty in the summer, I haven't given my Twitter handle in a while because I'm not active. Maybe give me more questions out there. We can talk at Dynasty Rich.
I'm at Dynasty Matt.
I'm at Dynasty Price.
And we'll be back next week talking more Dynasty Fantasy Football.
Adios.